Most people don't die because they didn't stop the bleeding. They die because they couldn't keep it stopped. Bleeding control is not a single action. It's a system. In part 1, we covered tourniquets, how to stop bleeding when a limb allows it. In part 2, we covered wound packing, what to do when a tourniquet won't work. Now we're at the part that decides whether any of that holds. Pressure. Tourniquets stop bleeding when they can. Wound packing controls bleeding when tourniquets can't. Pressure decides whether bleeding stays controlled when your hands have to move on. In combat, bleeding control buys time until evacuation. As a prepper, bleeding control buys time when you are the evacuation. No ambulance, no medic behind you, no backup coming. If bleeding starts again after you let go, your system failed, even if it looked good for a moment. This episode is about pressure, why it matters, why older gear failed, and why modern pressure dressings exist. This is part 3 of the IFAK series. Pressure is what decides the outcome. Tourniquets don't save lives by themselves. Wound packing doesn't either. Pressure does. Pressure maintains clot formation. Pressure prevents rebleeding. Pressure buys time you don't have. Without sustained pressure, everything you did before starts to unravel. Where pressure dressings fit. The order matters. Tourniquet when you can, pack when you can't. Pressure dressings to lock everything in place. Pressure dressings are not optional. They are not accessories. They are not comfort items. They are what turns "I stop the bleeding" into "this person survives" movement.
This won't hold unless we build pressure. I need this tight.
Easy. Slow steps. If that slips, we bleed again.
The old Army field dressing. Reality, not theory. Before modern pressure dressings existed, we used what the Army issued. The old Army field dressing was simple: a sterile pad, an OD green wrap, sealed in an OD green packet, no elastic, no pressure bar, no mechanical advantage, just cloth, cotton in your hands. I used those dressings in combat. You pecked the wound if you could. You placed the pad. You wrapped as tight as your strength allowed, and then you stayed there. Because the moment your hands came off, pressure dropped, and when pressure dropped, bleeding returned. Those dressings worked only as long as someone could babysit them. How we actually held pressure. When the issued dressing wasn't enough, we improvised. First dressing on the wound, second dressing on top, not for absorption, but to build bulk and focus pressure. Then 2 OD green triangular bandages, cravats, tie them over the dressings, slide a piece of wood or tree limb under the knot, twist. That improvised windlass was the only way to mechanically increase pressure. Then you tied it off and hoped movement didn't undo your work. It worked, but it was crude, fragile, and dependent on hands you often didn't have. Abdominal wounds, where everything broke down. Large wounds exposed the limits fast. We had large abdominal field dressings, oversized sterile pads with 4 cloth ties, 1 on each corner. The idea was to run the ties around the torso, under the back, and hold the dressing in place. In reality, it was a mess. You lost pressure lifting the casualty. The dressing shifted. The ties tangled. Pressure was inconsistent. Movement made everything worse. So again, we improvised. Layered dressings, cravats, windlasses, anything to keep pressure where it actually mattered. Desert Storm, same failure, new color. By Desert Storm, the Army tried again. Desert camouflaged abdominal dressings. Tan instead of OD green, same design, same 4 ties, same failure. They looked newer. They matched the uniform. Functionally, still worthless. The problem was never the color. The problem was the inability to maintain pressure. Preppers repeat that mistake every day with better-looking gear. Why the Israeli bandage changed everything. That repeated failure is why the Israeli bandage exists. It wasn't designed to look modern. It was designed to solve one problem. How do you keep pressure on a wound when the medic has to move on? Mechanical pressure. A pressure applicator bar. An elastic wrap. Focused force over the wound. No knots under the back. No wooden windlass. No improvisation under fire. Same mission medics had for decades. Finally, a tool built for reality. Modern pressure dressings, Israeli and Olea. Israeli dressings excel at speed, simplicity, and one-handed application. Olea-style pressure dressings focus on even pressure distribution, reduce slippage, and long-term stability. They're bulkier, they take longer to apply, but once in place, they hold pressure extremely well. If you need speed, Israeli. If you need pressure to stay put during long movement, Olea. The wrong choice doesn't always fail immediately. It fails later. Reinforce. Don't restart. Pressure dressings don't replace what's already working. If bleeding is controlled, you reinforce. You don't rip everything off and start over. Losing a clot is worse than never forming one. Retainer loops. Why pressure fails. Later. Pressure dressings don't just fight bleeding, they fight movement. Without secondary retention, dressings migrate. Pressure shifts. Bleeding restarts quietly. If you're walking, carrying, driving, or evacuating, retention matters as much as tension. That's not extra gear. That's failure prevention. Reassessment. The part people. Skip. Bleeding control is never set and forget. Reassess at 5 minutes, 10 minutes, after every movement. A soaked dressing does not automatically mean failure. Active bleeding does. If pressure is holding, reinforce on top. Don't strip it off unless you must. Circulation still matters. Pressure matters. But circulation still matters too. If the limb goes cold, pale, or distal pulses disappear, reassess tension. You're stopping bleeding, not sacrificing the limb. This matters even more for children and smaller adults. Pain, movement, and reality. Pain causes people to move. Fight you. Rip dressings loose. Expect that. Plan your retention accordingly. Self-care versus buddy care. If you're treating yourself, simplicity matters more than perfection. The best dressing is the one you can apply correctly with one hand under stress. The hands-off test, prepper reality. Apply your pressure dressing. Stand up, move, drive. If bleeding restarts the moment your hands leave the wound, your plan isn't ready. What a real prepper, IFAK, must do. Bridge to part 4. A real IFAK exists for 3 problems: massive bleeding, airway compromise, and collapsed lung. Part 1 covered tourniquets. Part 2 covered wound packing. Part 3 covered how to keep bleeding controlled. But none of that matters if air can't move in and out of the chest. That's why Part 4 matters. Because there is an injury that kills quietly while everyone is focused on bleeding. Sucking chest wounds, collapsed lungs, air moving where it shouldn't. In Part 4 of this IFAK series, we'll cover chest seals, field expedient solutions, and why the old OD wrapper sometimes mattered more than the gear inside it. Because stopping bleeding doesn't save a life if the lungs can't do their job. Final check. Suburban prepper, open your IFAK, be honest. If you let go of that wound, does bleeding stay controlled? Or does your plan collapse? Skills are the software, gear is the hardware. And hardware without understanding fails when it matters most. This is survival, this is resilience, this is Suburban prepper.